I had so much fun sitting out here in the grass on such a beautiful day yesterday. Just feeling the wind. It's a little stronger today, so I hope it doesn't interfere with the audio. It's just a good time to think, where we've been as individuals, where we've been as a country, where we're going as individuals, and where we're going as a country. I appreciate all the comments that I got from the video I did the other day. It gives me some hope, and I hope it gives others that identify with what we're dealing with the same kind of hope. But with that comes a little more bad news. And of course, I have to share that with you because that's who I am. And you probably all know more about it than I do. But Miss Dixon also sounds like a shameful human being, ignorant and lost, one or the other or both, or intent to destroy, probably under the Republican banner. Does Miss Dixon claim to be a Republican? Does she claim to be an American? Apparently she wrote a letter to the LDS church. Did she just declare war, a religious war in our country, and further divide people? Does she not have any firm understanding about what this country was built on, or how it is understood today? There's a mainstream, even a constitutional understanding of where we are and where we've been and what was right and what was wrong. And of course, if I were to talk to you about that, you would probably think I was somebody that was divisive, but it doesn't change the fact that the history was true. And I think that we need to acknowledge the history of this country and what it was and the dangers they faced when they dealt with coming here, what kinds of people were coming here, how they would be treated. Thus the Constitution and the allowance for certain things like freedom of religion. Now all of a sudden, through the race baiting of Obama and the agitating factions from the neocon establishment conservatism and the hatred for, or the apparent hatred for the biblical constitutionalists, we find ourselves in another crossroad. This is not going in a good direction, by the way. This is going in a bad direction. Now we're not only fighting about, we were fighting back in the day about Democrats and Republicans. Of course, I never really did. I was always focused on the bigger picture that really nobody else really wanted to know, and they still don't. They still call people that are looking to world government as conspiracy theorists and things of that nature, which means that they're so narrowly focused on trying to destroy others' character or just simply voting Republican. And I didn't want to get off the topic too much, but there's so much when I read this that needs to be mentioned. The one thing that I wanted to say to Miss Dixon is, it was brought to my attention a long time ago that the Mormon Church never really considered themselves Christians. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, I've got many, many friends, and I've worked with many, many good people from, many good Mormons from around the state and around the region. This is not this post is not to condemn religion. It's not to condemn the freedom of religion. It's to operate within the tolerance and the confines of our freedom of religion and the acknowledgement of that freedom of religion, as we have the freedom to speak and we have the freedom to defend ourselves and we have the freedom to protest. The line has been drawn, though, by Miss Dixon, and I don't know that she really realizes it, but did she just call the entire Mormon Church non-Christian? Because I know that although I've heard them say that they weren't really Christians, thus the reason for the religion, they seem to be, in many cases, pretty Christian to me, at least in their actions and things of that nature. But the question really needs to be brought out in the open, and I think it's worthy for all of us of even different faiths to be able to understand more about other faiths. But in the last 10 years or 15 years or so, I have, in my closeness of working with Mormons, they have claimed to be Christians. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments about that. Well, they are, or they're not, or whatever. That's not the point of it. The point is that we should be asking them, and they should be asking themselves, if they actually are or they're not relating to what Miss Dixon's letter says. If she says that they should be concerned about Christian nationalism and that there's no room for any other religion, and then she goes on to further assault Tom and Glenneda Zuiderveld, we know this is a lie from the pit of hell. I know it's a lie from the pit of hell because I know these people personally. And if I could walk up to you people that are liars and call you out face to face, I would do it. And I would have no problem doing it. And most of you that know me know that I would have no problem doing it. The problem is, and proof is, of my video yesterday, is that these people will assault your character without even looking you in the eye. And they think that they've got so much power that it's absolutely irrelevant and not important for them to debate you. Your job, like I mentioned yesterday, if you are the silent majority, to say silent no more, and to be able to follow my lead or anybody's lead and open your mouth and start preaching the truth. Because you are being controlled and manipulated in so many different ways, I can't even begin to tell you. These people are doing this under the cloak of republicanism. Now let me ask you, is there anybody in the Republican Party that's going to condemn Miss Dixon's letter? Is there? Because if there isn't, that should tell you and confirm exactly what I was talking about yesterday. Someone needs to condemn her and her letter, and preferably somebody from the church. I love my country. I love my countrymen. I love people, regardless of what religion they are, that can identify the blessings of liberty that come from this country. I've worked with many great people that have different faiths than my own. But to be able to say that the Mormons should be fearful of Christian nationalism, first of all, Miss Dixon, I would like to challenge you to define what Christian nationalism is, other than using the links that you showed that could arguably be seen as a liberal bias. The education, your education link, hello, are you a Republican? Do you believe in public education? Because if you do, that should come against you big time. Especially since the Marxist agitation that we're dealing with in the public school system and academia that continually is funded by taxpayers, that's creating little agitators. So, Miss Dixon, I have a question for you. And I know that you're trying to pull the heartstrings of the Mormon church and tell them they're under assault and all this kind of stuff. And then you relate it to Glenneda as if somehow she's got this secret army that's going to be anti-Mormon. It's a little late for that, honestly. If we were going to get into a religious war, then we should get into a religious war, but deal with it as we deal with the merits of the different religions. In other words, does one religion do this and does one religion do that? But what you decided to do is to be able to communicate with the entire LDS church to further assassinate their character in a way that she will be unable to defend herself. Are you going to allow her to be able to come and speak to the Mormon church? Are you going to allow me to come and speak to the Mormon church? Because I'll do it. Now, if you other people, I'm hoping some of you people that are not supporters of Tom and Glenneda are listening to this video, because I'll call you out too, you cowards. The fact that you can sit there and hide behind your keyboard and get on social media and work with people in secret to destroy people's character, if you were children and I was your parent, I would pick you up by the ear and I'd kick you out of the house. The fact that you can allow yourself to be able to have that kind of pathetic attitude toward other people means that you really aren't interested in working with other people that think differently. And in case you've forgotten, America is built on basic tenets of Christianity. Okay? A nation built on Christianity. You can call Christian nationalism whatever you want, because I've heard six different definitions. The latest one about the danger of Christian nationalism is, anybody that espouses Christianity and wears their Christianity on their sleeve wants a theocracy. I would challenge you, young lady, to tell me where that's true. Do you think I want a theocracy? Do you think our founding fathers wanted a theocracy? No, they didn't. They wanted people that had an understanding of their Creator. They wanted to be able to understand that freedom came from their Creator. They wanted to understand that God's creation and the freedoms that we have in this country that was given to us was by our Creator. Do you want to talk about multiculturalism with other religions? That's a separate topic. Especially if you guys are calling yourself Christians. If you're calling yourself a Christian, I'm not really quite sure you're worried about, or if you're just using fear tactics to scare the rest of your people. Now, I'm going to say this because it's true. We deal with an ignorant mass. There's a few of us that are educated. Some of us are more educated than others. Some of us work tirelessly to be educated. And then there's some lemmings that like to be able to preach to the ignorant, like a lot of the Republican GOP neocons, and apparently you too, Miss Dixon, where you want to appeal to the ignorant. And what I would say to the ignorant, that's whoever you are that's ignorant, even though nobody claims to be ignorant, is try to do a little bit of the homework on your own. Try to see if the things that are being said are true. And don't fall for the narrative. You can see clearly, because there's no evidence of anything that is being said that she said is true. But what you can see is it's more about an assault on someone's character. Now I'm going to say this because it's true. When you live in a society with different religions, whether it was the Founding Fathers and the 13 original colonies, or the multicultural, I call it a cesspool that we've created today, everybody that is of a particular faith wants their faith to be the most common faith. I'm not going to say the controlling faith, but the most common faith. Evidence of this is plain. When you live in a Mormon community, the Mormon community would love nothing more than to be able to have their Mormon community controlled by Mormons. It's simple. As a non-denominational Christian, I can tell you, nothing would please me more than to be able to have people in my state legislature and in my school district and everywhere else in my neighborhood to be the faith, to be the same faith. There's nothing wrong with that. It's understanding. But trying to launch stones at other people for being a different faith and trying to scare people into believing that somehow their freedoms are being threatened is completely unfounded. Now again, we can have this dialogue between Mormons and Christians and what did she say, Jews and Muslims and whatever. You notice how she did that? You see, I can tell you originally that my belief is that this was founded as a Christian nation. The 13 colonies were different denominations of Christian. Therefore, freedom of religion actually came from the freedom of your own Christian denomination. If you'll notice, America did not have a Muslim state, and they didn't have states of some of these other religions too. I know that. Everybody should know that. And to believe otherwise is a lie. Does it mean that I wish that we were back where we were? Maybe. We probably wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we have right now. But am I stupid enough, arrogant enough, or militant enough to believe that somehow it's time for a religious war? Our nation is being controlled by a global government. It's being controlled by dark forces. And every time we take the opportunity to divide each other on whatever triviality and how serious you believe that issue to be, only moves toward that end. It moves toward the loss of our country. It moves toward the loss of our foundations. And it advances the move for world government. Now, I'm not saying that other people that I'm supporting in these videos believe that way. Perhaps they do, perhaps they don't. Doesn't matter. This is my video, and this is my thoughts. And eventually, I may be vindicated, maybe not, and that's okay. But what I know to be true is that the division has to stop. If you continue to agitate, and you continue to speak lies about other people, then you too will suffer, and you will suffer greatly. And you will be guilty of helping to destroy this country, helping to create division, and to try to be some sort of controlling majority that is willing to persecute the minority. The very thing this country was not based on. This country was based on the absolute opposite, which is why we're a republic, Miss Dixon. We are a republic because we are all individuals. We are all free. We are all endowed by a creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And for you, Miss Dixon, and anybody else that follows you, that believes what you're saying, runs counter to the whole intent of this country. And it would please me greatly to have the opportunity to visit with you face to face, where you would have the opportunity to embarrass me in public. And every time I've ever said that, nobody's ever done it, which goes again to the point that the Republicans, they like to hang together and try to control their narrative, and try to support things that are unconstitutional, and try to pledge allegiance to the flag, right? To the republic for which it stands, and then we pray to God, and then that knife comes out, boy, and then they'll just stick it right in your back. Perhaps they'll get to some point. I think they're getting to the point where they're not going to stab you in the back anymore. They'll just stand right in front of you, and they'll stab you right in the eye. But are they brave enough to do that? I don't think so. I think they're dark. I think they work in secret. And I think that everything that works in secret is dark. And it shows how weak they are. They're scared of the truth. And that's how they have to work in secret. Ironically, that's how the global conspiracy works. They work in secret. Because if they realize that people knew, it would no longer be a conspiracy. And all of their efforts would have been thwarted. So, Miss Dixon, I wish you a great Sunday. I hope you praised Jesus when you went to church today. And I hope you didn't praise Satan the moment that you walked out. But you will be judged for your actions, as we all will. But sometimes I think how great it would be for us to be able to watch others that operate in secret and operate in the dark to be judged where we can actually see it. So God bless you today, Miss Dixon, and thank you for exposing yourself. But I honestly hope that the people in the church are far more intelligent than you give them credit for. And I hope that the attendees of your church will look at that letter and say, Miss Dixon, we're not that stupid. Your thoughts are your own. And maybe they would eject her from the church. Stranger things have happened, right? Anyway, have a great windy Sunday. Have a blessed Sunday. And I have one final thought for my radio show friend in Twin Falls that wonders if this is the last of the branch Glennedians. You are beginning to be a poor excuse for a human being, my friend. You are angry. You are frustrated. You are afraid to face anybody that can call you out. You have the intelligence to make your case, but somehow you don't. You sit behind your microphone, you condemn other people as if you're paid to do it, or as if you've been gone to the dark side. Then when I question you respectfully, you tell me that you haven't changed, when we all know you have. So what is it, Bill? You sell your soul to the devil? Do you make a deal with the Republicans? Do you get some sort of advantage? Will you have your medical bills paid by somebody that's got big money if you can condemn those that once helped you? The fact that you can actually condemn people that helped you when you were down on your luck is unimaginable to me. No respect, no gratitude, just hatred. You poor soul. But I still remember the friendship that we had, and I thank you for it. And I wish somehow we could return to being that way. But part of being friends is understanding and talking about issues of contention, which you seem to have no desire to do. So we have to only assume, and I know that I'm not the only one, there's something going on in your life that is making you extremely angry. And I can't believe that the things that are making you angry are the things you're actually attacking people about on social media, when those were a lot of the things that we talked about, even you and I, when I was on the radio. And don't make this about me not being on your radio or not being invited on your radio. Nothing's further from the truth, man. You do whatever you want. You have people on your radio show and you can talk about whatever you want. But you should never, ever, ever be allowed to attack people without allowing them to defend themselves. It just shows you as a person of weak character. And more than anything, for anybody that cares about you like I do, it really makes me wonder who got to you or what got to you. So, I still consider you my friend. I hope you'll come around. Perhaps you won't. But I find it very difficult to disrespect those that I've been friends with. I thought maybe you'd be the same way. Anyway, have a good Sunday.